All right, folks. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Bucks of America podcast. I am your host, Jeff Vance. Thank you for tuning in here. This podcast is pretty cool. Like, I've been talking with Austin here for weeks because he hit me up and we were both commenting on each other's all of our techniques and how we've grown and how we like each other's context, because I like the way he does his videos, and it's very well organized and very well thought out, and that's what really attracted to me to his profile. So I started deep diving and became addicted to it because it's like he always consistently puts out good content, and then the way he explains it to you, it understands that he comes from a teaching background, and that's where I came from too. I've always been in a teaching role, so it's going to be easy for us to have that nice conversation. Now, Austin has tactical approach outdoors. Now, his whole main focus is educating landowners about QDMA, and then everything else is just sugar on the top of it, because he delivers a package. So this way, then he looks at your product or your land differently than you would, but his whole thing is he's looking for how we can improve on it without making any major changes, because as an outdoorsman, we don't want to disrupt the wildlife in our area. We want to increase it and make it better. And that's where Austin has really shined at. Now, this is going to be a fun story because before we hit record, he is a trainer. And those who follow me on Instagram and watch my lives, I've been working out consistently. I've been shooting my bow just to kind of get my reps in. So this way, then I don't build up any lactic acid and just kind of keep kicking ass, Like today's episode, we talked about mental health, and that is way we need to focus on this stuff, because we've seen issues, and we need to continue increasing this, because we all know that mental health plays a big role in us men, and we don't always talk about it. And that is why we have the highest rate of suicides, the highest rate of incarceration, we have the highest rate of divorce and such. So we need to be open about this and not be shy about it, because there's no such. We don't need to be a man anymore. We need to be in touch with ourselves, love ourselves, because there are people that are affected by us that don't even know it yet. So anyways, Austin, I'm gonna stop rambling on here, but I'm gonna let Austin take over, and he's gonna talk about himself.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jeff. I'm pretty pumped to chat with you. We've been talking for the last couple of weeks, so I've been looking forward to this.
So have I. So go ahead and tell us who you are. Tell us the beginning of Austin Stone.
Well, my name's Austin Stone. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I started hunting. My dad started taking me out when I was 9 years old. I started carrying my own gun when I was 10. So been hunting for 20 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about that it's already been this long. I'm a personal trainer, as we mentioned here, and I really enjoyed that. I come from kind of a instructing background with horse training and managing a barn and whatnot. So it's been fun to shift my business focus with Tactical Approach Outdoors to being a deer hunter education and instructing kind of business. Saw kind of a little bit of a gap in the industry where maybe, adults weren't being focused on as much. There weren't as many programs, online education available that you don't have to go to in person, but maybe you need a mentor, that person that I grew up with, my dad being my mentor. And, a lot of people that want to get started never had that mentor in person. So that's kind of why I wanted to move Tactical Approach to where it was, to help bridge that gap and provide someone that you can trust and go to as a mentor. This past season for me was by far a dream season, man. It was awesome. I hunted Iowa for the first time, shot a really nice 8-point. I mean, he's right there over my left shoulder, and canoe access hunt, that a week before that, I shot at 9-point, who's over my right shoulder here. Again, a canoe access hunt. And a month later, I ended up shooting my biggest buck to date, which is just a giant 170-inch 10-point. And all of them were self-filmed. All of them were archery hunts, public land. Everything I've hunted is public, has been public land. Occasionally I'll have some access to private with some buddies, but man, it's been years since I've been on any kind of private piece. So everything I do is is public, and I like the challenge and the variety and the options that it gives me.
Man, $3 in 1 year. That is impressive, man. So you got one in Iowa, one in Missouri, one in Kansas, I assume?
Two in Missouri.
Oh,
yeah.
so you can get 2 buck tags. All right.
Yes, sir. So I shot my 9-point here. I shot him middle of October. And then, I can't use my second buck tag here in Missouri until after gun season starts. So I shot my other buck, my 170 in Missouri, the week after opening weekend of rifle. So it was actually still during rifle season, but I had it on an archery only property that I went to. So
that's pretty cool. Now, the only archery was that public or was that private?
It's public.
Really? I didn't know that Missouri would allow to allocate certain properties for strictly archery.
Yeah, there's certain properties that actually have some special regulations on them. So that's where if you do a lot of your homework, you might be able to find a little bit of a hidden honey hole that maybe has some funny access or some funny regulations that, may deter a lot of guys from going to just because they're looking for something else. And where I don't mind at all, dropping my gun and going to a bow. So, I'll take it. If the deer are there, I want to go after them.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That adds an element of tactical approach to it. Now, with all of your bucks and stuff like that, with the 2 Missouri bucks, since you're on private, I can't speak to public. So how did you scout for them? Because I know for myself, I don't trust people when my trail cams are out there. So how did you do your scouting then? Did you feel ambitious enough to allow your cameras to sit out there?
So I relied mostly on my postseason scouting. Actually, it was a combination of postseason and in-season scouting. So what I had is I knew these locations were historically hot locations. I found the scrapes, the acorn trees, and the main trails and rubs in these particular areas. So I had an idea about where I needed to go anyways, and especially where I shot my 170. I hunted that a bit the year before, so I was able to kind of narrow my tree stand down to a big white oak that had a lot of converging movement on it and had multiple really big, the best scrapes on property, really. And what I did from there is I found what was fresh at that time. So like where my 9-point here, I was having trouble picking up the scrapes at the beginning of October. They just weren't opening up yet. And where I ended up shooting him were some of the first scrapes that these bucks ended up opening up, middle of October. So I knew kind of where to go. I just needed to do a speed scouting trip, figure out what was fresh. And I knew more than likely if I had a really significant sign with bedding cover and food cover, that there's a really good chance that I had a mature buck using that location. So then I just waited for a cold front and went in and made a hunt. So both Missouri bucks was basically a one hunt and done trip. So I didn't set, so my 170, I didn't set foot on that property almost for a month and a half until I came in that week before, found just some massive rubs, fresh scrapes. I mean, it was getting hit by something really nice. And I had a cold front coming later that week. So I got out of there, came in for the cold front, and I ended up shooting him, that evening, the cold front. So basically both of those Missouri bucks was a one sit and done.
Wow, that's pretty impressive that you utilized it. Now, when you said the scrapes opened up, now, was that mean they were a brand new scrape, or were they recently touched up, and that's why you chose that spot?
Recently touched up. So the 9-point early in October, those were brand new scrapes just because it was so early in the season. But the year before, they had this corner tore up. So historically, they've been using this particular bend in the river. And so I knew that more than likely I'd find some scrapes there. I just had to wait till that fresh sign opened up. And then when it came to my 170, the scrapes were there, and they've been using them actively through October and in November there. But I had to figure out which ones were actually active. You can tell that you can tell when they just pawed up the ground, and you've got some droppings around the area that are real fresh, and you can just tell that they've recently used that scrape.
That makes sense. So
yeah,
do you have any? So your dad was your one that got you into hunting. So when did you move from gun to archery?
I started carrying a bow, I think, when I was 13. So I started shooting, real young. I had a little youth bow for a long time, but I didn't actually get my first hunting bow till about 13. So I carried a gun for 3 years before I started carrying a bow. And most of my hunting was still centered around the typical rut time, the later October through November. And as I got a little bit older, especially as I got into my 20s, I started branching out a little bit more and trying to do a little bit odd, quote unquote, odd time of the year hunting, outside of the rut, learning these deer. And I shot my first wall hanger when I was 19. So obviously that kind of sparked a little bit of an addiction. So yeah, so I've been hunting the bow hunting for about 17 years now. If you count that, that's kind of crazy.
Wow, that's pretty. That's nice. I only have. I shot this guy in 2017, and I only started bow hunting in 2015. So I'm fairly new to the whole aspect of it. But I really enjoyed it. Like last year, I shot a doe, and that was it. But I had one of the most memorable seasons out there. I mean, I had a 6-point. Him and I had a conversation for about 50 minutes because it's like I have a ghost blind. It threw him off when he got within 7 yards of it because he saw another deer, but he saw himself. Then I had one spot where I picked out where I saw 5 bucks between a forky to a basket 8, but they were like that 30 to 40 yard range out there, but there's a lot of zigzags to that. So it's like, well, I'm not going to try to pull a shot off with a bow, but it's just so much fun just to be out there and be in the ground because now you're eye level with them. And being on public land, I like just about, because I get bored one spot, I'm going to move to another area just because it's like, I'll start in the morning. And then it's like when I know everything's kind of calmed down, I don't want to have any more movement, I'll move to another piece of the property or move into higher up the bluffs because here in Wisconsin, we got the bluff country. So it definitely throws your loop. And if you play it right, especially how the wind's working, you can set up above that trail and you can shoot down from them. So I have a couple of spots where I saw a nice basket 8 last year that I hope is still around, but nobody where I hunt. I have a couple of properties in public that nobody hunts early season. So my goal is to be able to get there before everybody else does and hopefully capitalize on a doe or on a buck, because I set on this fence line we're between public and private, but he beds in private, eats on public.
Isn't it funny how they know, man? They just know where they need a bed. And it's way too many times I've noticed it just barely off of public, just barely.
Now, you talking, sounds like you do a lot of solo hunting. So do you hang out with any of your friends from high school that still bow hunt, or do you go out and do not necessarily party hunt, but kind of group hunt with the bows?
Not a lot. My brother hunts with me quite a bit. So, usually during bow season, if I'm not hunting solo, I'm usually hunting with him. We do have a bunch of buddies that get together, opening weekend of rifle here in Missouri. We have a big deer camp that we do there. I don't have a big group of guys built up around bow hunting yet, which is something, I'd like to work into as I build connections, make friends like yourself throughout the years and all, and maybe build a cool little deer camp around bow hunting as well. So
definitely, because bow hunting deer camp is like, it's not really that common because everybody does the gun hunting, but bow hunting is like, it's a whole other it's a whole different prospect, because you live in Missouri. There's got to be some pieces that are 80 to 100 plus acres of land where you guys can all disperse in different parts of it and hopefully come back with some deer, some venison.
Yeah, absolutely. There is. We got some big properties actually here in Missouri. The MDC does a great job about, planting and making the properties real easy to access, and they like manicuring the properties, which for me, that makes it very difficult because I'm willing to work a lot harder. So finding those spots that are harder to get to can actually be a little tricky because the MDC does such a good job about manicuring and mowing and planning. And, you know, you got parking lots and road access almost everywhere. So there's not a lot of areas that we have that you truly have to work really hard to get to. So it gets kind of tricky, and you kind of got to think outside the box when it comes to that. But like our deer camp in Missouri in opening weekend of rifle, that's just like you were saying, that's the fun part about it. You know, it's a 7,000 acre property that we're on, and, you know, we get 12 to 13 guys in camp, and, you know, throughout the day, you start getting a text, hey, so-and-so shot something. Hey, someone's got something big down. I can't wait to get to camp later and see what he looks like, you know?
That is pretty exciting. I don't miss gun camp, but because I have due to a hunting accident years ago, I have a bad ear. So it's like, I tend not to gun hunt because it's like, I know how it deteriorates, and I like to keep my earring the best it can be. So it's like I tend just to bow hunt. And plus I'm at my own pace when it comes down to when I'm group hunting, you have to go out for a thing like that. But last year I got my roommate into bow hunting, but he's got some personal issues that he needs to sort out. So it's between him and God to work all those out. But it'd be great to have him back out hunting, because, man, him and I sat together, well over close to a dozen times in different properties around Wisconsin, because it was first time ever living up here, and he got a chance to put a couple of shots on him, but he didn't. He thought he could pull it off, but it's like he didn't. He rushed the shot and such. The whole, you know how it goes when you're new to the whole process. So I want to take a moment in there. So how did you get into raising or training horses and training people how to use horses?
You know, I had a buddy of mine in high school that his family actually had horses. So that's kind of how I got introduced into horses. You know, we had family, you know, that owned farms, and, you know, I've always been in the woods, camping and hunting, and been active in the outdoors. And then when I had my buddy actually introduced me to the horses, do some riding and help with kids rodeos and stuff like that. It just kind of set in a passion of mine. I knew that that's something I wanted to do and to pursue. And I got a job at this barn that I ended up managing a couple years later, but I got a job at this barn, you know, cleaning stalls, working with the horses, and learned, you know, got to build up my skills and as a horseman and all, and start working with a lot of different horses and clients. And the boarders and all were a lot of fun to talk with and help with along the way. And along that process, I actually got on a internship in Alberta, Canada, with a horse trainer. So I actually So I actually went to Montana for a summer where this particular horse trainer was at. I spent the summer with him, and one of those months, we actually went up to Alberta to this quarter horse ranch. And, man, every day for 30 days, we rode, you know, anywhere from 3 to 6 horses a day. And, I mean, it was just some of the smartest and most athletic horses I've ever had the privilege of actually working with, and just amazing horses. And, you know, on his ranch, he owned thousands of acres in the mountains in Montana. You know, we ride the horses and work cattle up in the mountains during the summer. And it was great too. He was actually an outfitter, an elk and bear hunting outfitter as well. So he did that on top of the horses, and it made for a cool experience up there that summer. And that's really where I learned most of the horsemanship. And then I just came home and took it from there.
That's pretty cool. So then how long were you in that career for?
Oh, 5 or 6 years I was doing that.
And so, you know, before I hit record, you were talking about hip issues. So then, were you thrown from horses often or something, or was it just because of how the rhythm works?
So I was thrown from multiple horses. You know, horse training, it can get kind of Western on you. So I actually separated my shoulder a couple times being thrown. But the hip issues, that was a degenerative bone issue actually. So that was kind of a genetic thing that progressively got worse through the years, and it got to the point where I couldn't even get in the saddle anymore. So it kind of sucked. Yeah, but the pounding of sometimes that saddle hurt more. Staying on the horse hurt more than hitting the ground. Just that saddle will beat the tar out of you sometimes.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. See, my dad, when he was growing up in the 50s and 60s and stuff, they were equestrians. They had a bunch of horses, but all of their horses were work horses. I mean, they didn't have tractors, and so they plowed and tilled everything with big old Clydesdales and such. And then as they got a little bit older and they could actually manage things, they eventually got some tractors and stuff like that. But yeah, for a lot of his youth, that's what they did. So by the time I came around, they've already sold the farm. My grandpa already passed away, so it's like that was the end of that type aspect. It was kind of frustrating. It's like worked all his life on the farm, built it up to over 200 acres, sold it, and he died within like 18 months or something like that. It's just amazing how fast that acceleration went.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, after you finished your career with being in horses, and you got into personal training. So what motivated you to get into that? What was the catalyst for that?
So, growing up, going through high school and all, I played sports. You know, I was into fitness, and I liked staying strong and active and being in good shape and all. And through the injuries I got through horses, it kind of kept me away from the gym a little bit, and unfortunately lost a lot. So after I got done with that, got everything fixed injuries wise, I knew I needed to get back in the gym. I need to get stronger, put some muscle back on, and build my physique back up to where it needed to be, and also strength wise. But became friends with the personal trainer at the gym I was working out at, and we just started talking, and I talk about the stuff that I know, some of what I'm doing, my planning and nutrition and whatnot. And he eventually asked me, he's like, hey, you ever thought about actually being a personal trainer? He's like, you know what you're doing? Is that you ever thought about doing this? Like, well, hadn't really thought about it before, but I'm kind of interested now. So, I just did some research and figured out that maybe something I wanted to go do, and started taking classes, got certified, and then he helped me get on with a stellar studio gym that I'm working at currently. I've been there over 5 years now. So at this particular gym, it's a great spot, great community that they've built around it.
Have you ever checked out Brian Austin stuff with Beast Mode Archery games or challenges?
I've looked at some of his stuff, and man, I'm interested in doing that. It looks like a lot of fun.
One of those things where if you wanted to, you should almost ask him or have a conversation like we're doing right now, and find out if there's a way to, if you'd be willing to work with you, but start something down there, because you can now incorporate fitness and archery at the same thing, because I've gone to his events and stuff like that, and they're no joke. It's like he'll let you know how out of shape you are real quick. But he is vindictive about it, because the burpees, the box jumps, all that fun stuff, and he really knows what he's doing with it, because it's like everybody that goes through his training and then turn around goes on an elk hunt, it's worth every penny. And I don't know if that would be a market for you down there, but it's like, I tell you what, it's a lot of fun. It definitely really kind of puts your mindset in that perspective of doing it, because he sets it up to where you could be going over hills, going on down hills, going over objects and stuff like that. So it really kind of puts that into your mind, but also carrying a pack. And then let's say you have to scurry up a hill because it's like you need to intersect a big animal, so it's like you need to get there real quick, and then on top of it too, you're huffing and puffing, and then you got to draw it back. I tell you what, man, it's like you really see your accuracy like really come down when your heartbeat's really pumping, and just that blood is rushing.
Yeah, no, that looks like a lot of fun. I like how that's put together, and being a public land hunter, I walk a lot. I put a lot of work in through the years, and through that fall, and not only the fall, but spring, so staying in shape to me is crucial to my success, and not only to actually harvest that animal, but then you got to get them out. So I'm the kind of guy that if the deer's there, I'm going to go get him, and then I'll figure out how to get him out after that. So yeah, actually that would be interesting to talk about. I bet there would be probably a market for that down here. There's quite a big fitness market down here, and obviously archery as well.
Yeah, because the nice thing is like the way he did the same thing to you. He worked his way up and developed a nice clientele, and it's just kind of with the process of moving forward, it just kind of worked out together. So if you can find a spot where you can, even if you like, I don't know about like. For a couple examples here, in Minnesota, they actually have archery stops. Like they have places where you can actually go shoot out in public, and they have bags and all that stuff like that. Put up it's all free. You just show up and shoot. Do they have anything like that in your area?
Yeah, we have 3D ranges kind of set up around. I don't know a whole bunch of them around the Kansas City area where I'm at, but I know they're around. I know one particular for sure. It's ran by the conservation department, and it's just a free range. There's multiple other ranges that are just lanes, the 20, 30, 40 lanes. And I'd have to do some looking to see what else is available for the 3D shoots, but there is some ranges available for sure.
Because this could be a very easy segue to moving into something like that, because now you already have a place to do it if you charge whatever you can do, but then you can just take and reinvest that into targets and stuff like from Reinhardt or Merrill or whatever. You can always check out like huntinggeardeals.com. Cam Stouffer always has good deals on there, so you can always wait and go from there. So it's always a way to do it, but I would talk to the master first, because then he can teach you how to like figure out what the marketing is, how you can build up from it there, and like what are good techniques, because it's like you may have your idea for it, but it's better to talk to a master, because this way then you could skip all the trial and error.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I know the importance of having a good mentor, and man, that's something I've always strived to try to find, is that somebody that can help help me progress in the correct manner, because I know, the worst thing I had when training horses was a horse that already had bad habits. And, the young horses were so incredibly easier to work with than an older horse, because the young horse hadn't had a chance to form those bad habits yet. So it's like they were already at zero. Now I could progress them past it, where some of those little bit, the 10, 12-year-old horse that's been worked with for a little bit, but not great, I had to get them to zero and then progress. So it's like I had to work out all those bad habits and get to zero and then progress. And that's something that I've tried for myself to keep me from doing, was get into too many bad habits, learn it the right way first. And that's also something that, I want to pass down to as much as I can. I got my knowledge from somebody else. If I can help pass that down and help somebody where I was at that point, at one point too. So
now I've gone, because what his experience, like I've gone to going to his events, stuff like that. All the people that are there, they're loyal, they're hardworking, and they treat you. It's like they all struggle. They all been there. So whether you're a beginner or an expert, it's like they're very welcoming crew, and it's very nice to see that type of camaraderie and such. And right now, it's like he does scrambles on Fridays, and it's like I went to one last year, but I now do another, like I talked to you before, I do another podcast on Friday, so that kind of pulls out. But in the end of July, he's got his King of the Hill 3D, and he's expecting like 350, 450 people there. So it's going to be quite the thing, because he learned from last year, and this year he's adding in another course, and it's going to have its own atmosphere. It's got its prizes and all that fun stuff. So I know it's kind of a bit of a drive for you, but if you're able to get up here, it's worth the trip. Now do you have kids by chance?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Wife or girlfriend?
I got a girlfriend, but no wife yet. So.
Oh, okay. I got you. No, okay, I got you. What about now? Has she shown any interest to archery yet?
Not much. She supports me with everything I do, and she's that person that says, go do it. I know you got a dream that you're chasing and you got a passion for it. And she pushes me to go do more. So it's kind of nice. We do have a lot of things that we share in common, with the outdoors and camping and whatnot. And then she just lets me go do my thing when it comes to hunting and archery. So
that's pretty cool. It's nice to have a nurturing person like that. My wife is just like that. I get to, like, I'm going to the Beast Mode 3D archery shoot. I go down to Iowa. I travel all over the place, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have someone that's very encouraging and pushes you forward, because then it's like they know that if you remain persistent, consistent, determined, I mean, there's going to be a lot of rewards at the very end of it all. Have you had a chance? Like, I've been doing a lot of self-development. Like, I've always been doing self-development, but one of the books that I've been holding off reading for a long time is Think and Grow Rich. Have you had a chance to crack that book open yet?
I haven't yet.
You really should, because it will definitely focus everything, because the book was written in 1937, and Napoleon Hill had the opportunity to interview over 500 millionaires at that particular time, like Carnegie being one of them, Rockefeller being another one, Thomas Edison. And it's only the audiobook portion is only 6 hours long. But otherwise, the book is 12 chapters and a little over 300 pages, right around that mark. But each chapter, the first 2 chapters are very powerful. They have you write down lists, have you clear-cut goals and such. And like today, I re-listened to chapter 9, which is all about persistence. And it's one of those things where the way the speaker breaks it down, where they talk about the examples of Ford, because Ford is very persistent, very quick to very decisive, and a lot of people always misconstrue that as very heartless and ruthless type thing. But that's the thing, is like he when you put all those things together, they all add up for good building blocks. And I think that could be, if you're starting a business or if you don't know what you want to do, but it's a good way to learn it. And Think and Grow Rich is very powerful and underrated.
Yeah, I want to look that up. That sounds like a good book. I'm such a mindset guy. I mean, everything revolves around your mindset. And being a fitness trainer, it's the discipline and the persistence. Just like you said, you kept coming back to persistence. Everything I do is all about consistency and, keep pushing for your goals. It's nothing happens overnight. And we live in an age now where everybody wants everything right now. Everything's so fast, and we have to remember that in the basics, we have to be patient, be consistent with what we do. And, if you can't compare your progress to another person's progress, who knows what kind of head start they got, or they just hit a button just right that, it clicked for them. And, you just have to keep pushing forward and keep a positive mindset. And that's where you have to surround yourself. It's so important, surrounding yourself with people that are going to do nothing but encourage you, and then keep pushing you for those goals. Your wife pushing you, my girlfriend pushing me, keep doing your thing. And eventually something's going to show that progress is going to have something to show for it. And, even if it is changed just a little bit, maybe you're not on the exact path you thought you were going on, but you're slightly off. I mean, you're still there. You're still reaching goals, and you're moving forward and creating a better self, really.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's where I wanted. And then, like, we were talking about having the right people around you. Chapter 10 is about a mastermind group, and it's having people around you that you can go to for asking questions. And this way, then they can at least point you in the right direction. Luckily for us, like when the book was written in 37, you needed to have a good core group of people. Nowadays, it's like they can at least point you to somebody like, well, I know a little bit, but I'm going to get you somebody that's a subject matter expert in what you're looking for, especially like you're trying to do a 501c3. Or if you're trying to build an LLC, there's people out there that can help you get to that goal. That's the best part about the internet these days. There's no reason for you not to be making money.
Yeah, I mean that's like, we talk about all the negatives that have come through the digital age and social media and all, but what positives have come from it? You and I wouldn't be connecting and talking like this, not too long ago, just because we didn't have it available to us. And if you use your platforms you know, in a good manner. And, you know, it's, you know, me with tactical approach and fitness, also learning the difference, but the two sides of social media, you know, you got the social side, but then you got the business side, and man, they're two totally different things. And they're two different mindsets going into that platform. And it's actually helped me approach those social platforms and the digital availability even differently.
That's a good way to look at it. That's beautiful the way you put it out. Like, I sat down with my friend Ben from Sodak Horizons, and we sat down, we talked about, him and Jeremy Fish from Toxin App. And we were talking about, he was talking about how he's able to build his channel from 15 to 2,000. He's approaching, he's either hit 10K or is really damn close to it. And that's what he ended up doing is that he figured out,
Hey everyone, Jake with HHA. Super excited to introduce the Tetra and Tetra Max Rise. The Tetra Max and the Tetra Rise is our new 2-pin vertical bow sight that we're coming out with here for this year. So you'll notice a couple things on it. It's very similar to our single pin platform that we've had here over the last 25 years, and really similar to the other sights in the Tetra line. So what we basically did was we took our single pin technology and we merged that with some multi-pin technology. So the way we built our Tetra and Tetra Max Rise sights was we basically dropped a second pin in that vertical pin coming up from the bottom, and then we added a second indicator on the yardage wheel. So both of those are fixed. One really nice thing with this setup is you sight in at 20 and 60 with the top pin, and you don't have to worry about the second pin at all. That second pin and second indicator will automatically be on. So really nice feature there. The Tetra Rise and Tetra Max Rise are gonna come in 8 different frame options. So 4 in the Tetra Max Rise, 4 in the Tetra Rise. Both are gonna come in the fixed Hunter Edition frames. So the Tetra Hunter Edition frame, the Tetra Max Hunter Edition frame, as well as the Hoyt Picatinny mounts in both the Tetra Max and the Tetra Rise, as well as the long dovetail and then the short dovetail bar option that I have on the Matthews bridge lock system. So all the dovetail options within the Tetra and Tetra Max Rise are going to be compatible with Matthews bridge lock system. So within both of these product lines, you're going to get a lot of different options as far as which sight you want to go with. So you're going to get your choice of a yellow or red second pin. Red is going to be the standard second pin color, but you can choose to go with the yellow option as well. And then both will be available in either a 10 or a 19 thousandths pin. All scope housing sizes are 1 inch and 5/8, and we do have the same front end that we've had on the Tetra line since 2020 with the macro gain adjustments as well as your micro adjustments as well for windage. New on the Tetra Rise this year, you're going to notice that there is a new needle carrier. So this needle carrier obviously has the 2 indicators, but you will see that it is a red anodized needle carrier to really call out where your needles are at. On the Tetra and Tetra Max Rise, we'll be able to achieve longer distances. So we have built the longest tape sets that we've ever offered in our company's history. So guys are going to be able to get out to 120, 130, 140, 150, and in some situations even farther depending on your arrow setup. It's just making sure that we're getting arrow clearance, but really nice feature to be able to just step out in the backyard or head out to the 3D course to shoot out to some of those longer distances. On the hunting side of things, this is one of the nicest hunting sights that we have ever built. It does have reasonable pin gap spacing with a 1/4 inch spacing. That way, you know, if that deer runs out from 20 to 35, your second pin's on. So the most commonly asked question that I've had so far as we went through this whole setup process is, where does that second pin sit? Well, that second pin is going to vary depending on the different arrow setups that you do shoot. Closest answer I could give you is the most common is going to be somewhere between 32 and 40 yards, depending on how fast your bow is. So you'll likely be somewhere between that 32 to 40 yards with that second pin if the first one's at 20. So along with all other HHA products, the Tetra Rise and the Tetra Max Rise carry a 100% lifetime warranty. All products are 100% made in the USA. For more information, you can visit our website at hjsports.com.
Like, he posts 3 reels a day. His stories about 9 to 12 long. He does a live maybe once a day or every couple of days, depending on his schedule and stuff like that. I mean, he made an announcement that they're expecting their 3rd child, which is going to be pretty cool.
That's cool. Awesome. That's awesome.
But if you follow that simple little thing, that strategy right there, you'll see your Instagram grow and stuff like that. And then also going out there and following new people and stuff, because it's the only way you're gonna get your name out there. Because the algorithm is different when it comes down to that one, from based off of Facebook and such. So this cool thing is, like, you can find your core group of people by looking through folks like my following, his following, because we all are very similarly like-minded about health, fitness, mental health, killing big deer, or just simply enjoying the time we have outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And did Instagram, did make a big change a couple years ago. So that's been interesting to kind of figure out as well, especially if, we started our business, in those couple years where we had to learn that new algorithm change and how to make it work. But, just like you said, once you kind of figure out your flow, what works for you, man, you just pound it, just stay consistent with it. And, for YouTube, I started recently doing, 1 to 2 videos a week. And, I'm a Sunday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. post, like boom, on the dot, 6 p.m. post. And if I hit that exactly, I do pretty good with my initial start for the video. And, I see the growth in the channel, and it's just being consistent with that. And that's what I found has worked for me on YouTube. And I'm sure that might change and alter as I get bigger and learn more and whatnot. But that's what I found for me to be working.
And getting your hashtags right, your SEO correct, and then going from there. That is a big thing that I'm still struggling with. And stuff. I have a friend of mine that is more knowledgeable on that whole avenue. So it's always been a learning experience, like listening to him talk and like how to get that SEO down, so this way you can get that attraction and getting it all customized and such. And gave me some really good answers. Like if let's say you put in elk, just type in as a hashtag elk, you're never going to get found. It's so overwhelmed. You got to be very specific and go like, Austin talks about speed goats in Kansas type scenario. You got to be that specific for it. And then you can navigate through the interwebs, because YouTube is the second most used search engine. So you really got to master that right there.
Absolutely. And you nailed it with, that SEO stuff is something I've been learning a lot lately and getting a lot better at, which in turn, it showed on my videos and my channel growth. It's working. So now, I got to stay consistent with it and keep learning, because there's so much more that I still have yet to learn about it, and just keep staying consistent and keep putting videos out.
Mm-hmm. That and TikTok does well too. I've gotten some, I've had a few videos, not necessarily go viral, but they've gotten like between 10 to 20,000 people look at them. So that's still pretty cool. So it's like, it's still is considered a town or a big city.
Yeah, and actually, that's something that I've noticed a lot of kickback from onto YouTube is from TikTok. And TikTok, they like to censor our hunting stuff, so we got to be very careful about what we put on. But if you edit it correctly, I've actually driven a lot of traffic from TikTok, and I've built a very good audience on TikTok as so far. So I'm pretty happy with my progress on it. It's just learning how to reach people through the censoring that they tend to do in the hunting industry. So
yeah, 100%. It's their censorship of self efficiency, and that's something that has been a attack on for the last 15 years. We've seen a massive uptick with PETA and stuff like that, trying to chip away at self efficiency. Because if you rewind it back to World War II, where a lot of people had gardens and majority of their yards were gardens, nowadays we have all these massive grow houses and such like that. And if we start educating people to move towards that, we'd see a big change in our health concerns, because you start looking through all the preservatives in that box. It's like that stuff's all detrimental to your intestines, to your mind, to your heart. I mean, it has just ripple effect all through the entire thing. I mean, I'm taking several vitamins to help out with boosting testosterone, sleeping better, dreaming more. Like I've been taking turmeric with pepper, and that's actually been breaking down the calcification of my pineal gland. So my dreams have been becoming more and more vivid. And it's almost like I'm getting a reattachment, rekindling that connection with God.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and that's something that a lot of people kind of look past, is the emotional and mental gain by living a healthy, fit lifestyle. Is if I get off, quote unquote off plan, and I kind of get off, more higher in sugar or higher in alcohol, and just go through a phase, I can tell differences in my clarity and, my energy levels, my sleep is completely different. My performance in the gym and physically is just completely different. And then I'm like, okay, I need to reel this in. And the moment I come back to what I need to be doing, exercising more regularly, drinking water, eating better, cleaner foods, higher protein. I mean, there makes a significant difference. And honestly, building a business like this, it's a grind. And if you're not taking care of your body, then you're not going to be able to mentally and physically, do what you need to do and put the time into building your dream, really.
Oh yeah, 100%. And with Joe Rogan coming on talking about like his sleep apnea and such, I wish sleep apnea machines weren't so overpriced, because I find that I have one too, and it makes a world of difference in your sleep, your heart rate, your amount of lung pressure, stuff like that. And if it wasn't so, like machines in there between $1,000 to $1,800 without insurance, and it's like it makes no sense because they're all made in China, so it's like it should be much cheaper than that. And but it's all because the medical industry, because we have a sick care system, not a healthcare system. And if more people were able to get on or have one of these, I could see a lot more people being less stressful, healthier, less snoring and stuff like that. It could see a big increase. But granted, it can be kind of cumbersome, but I'll tell you what, Ed, everybody that knows ever gotten one is just a night and day difference. And how it reacts with your whole system, because it's like you're not putting so much stress on your heart. Your lungs are working a little bit easier. It's forcing that oxygen down there, and plus it's like you're just using distilled water. You could change out all the materials to keep them nice and healthy and clean, because otherwise you can get sinus infections and stuff like if you don't maintain that. So it's pretty easy to take to maintain that upkeep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are invaluable to folks that need that. I mean, sleep apnea is no joke. So, I mean, and you need to be able to continue getting that oxygen to your body. And I mean, you should be able to get those a lot. There's a lot of stuff that goes right back to that we should be able to get a lot easier and have a lot more available to us than we do. So, but yeah, that's just one huge example that could be a life changer for a lot of guys.
Oh yeah, even for women too. It's like because women have they have their own attributes, stuff like that, and sometimes it can be quite heavy. And why not give them an extra support to it and stuff like that? And it's like I'm all for that, man, because it's like whatever keeps you on 2 feet, I'm all for it.
100%, man, 100%.
And even if you look at Joe Rogan, this guy is fit. He does jiu-jitsu and taekwondo and all these different martial arts, and he still has sleep apnea. And he's like 5'9", 5'8". He's an average sized dude, but it's like even still him being a peak performer, still sleep apnea. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, and it affects it. It can affect anybody. It's just one of those things. You just never know when it's going to hit you.
Yeah, absolutely. And some folks are more predisposed to certain conditions than others, and just like you said, he's a peak performer. So a lot of times, sleep apnea can be helped a lot because of weight loss. But, at the same time, just like you said, he's in tip top shape. I mean, it's just the way that's just the card he was dealt. So, he needs to be on something like that and help him, maintain life.
So tactical outdoor or Tactical Approach Outdoors. Where did this come from? What was the catalyst to drive you to this next level, to begin a third career?
So Tactical Approach Outdoors, being a deer hunter, we all want to, like, how can we make a living, deer hunting and whatnot. And, we all think about that stuff, but, talking to a lot of people, I kind of saw that there was a little bit of a gap in the industry, and throughout the years, that gap's been really filled, through podcasts and the digital era, where information's become so much more available, where, old articles, there'd be a lot of stuff left out in those articles. It'd say, go hunt scrapes, you'll kill big bucks on scrapes, but why hunt scrapes? Why is this scrape better than this scrape? And, the details and the why about it. When, I wanted to, something I always did with my horses and with my training clients, my personal training, was I wanted to help present the why. That's how I learned. It's not just go do this. Okay, well, I did this. Maybe I saw success, but I don't actually understand why I saw the success. It's just that I saw the success by doing this. When you actually break it down to the why, that's when you truly understand what's happening. And that's what I wanted to build, through Tactical Approach Outdoors. And that's always how I've approached my hunting. Was it's a very tactical approach. You know what I mean? So my approach to the woods, approach to my hunt, there's a reason for it. It's not random by any means. And most of the time, actually all the time, there's more than one reason why I'm hunting this particular location on this particular day. That goes back to my Missouri bucks. Here in state, I can be a little bit more picky with when I hunt and whatnot, where I could hold off for that cold front on those bucks. I found immediate fresh sign, and I waited for the cold front, went in, and first hunt, I ended up shooting them. Where my Iowa buck, I can't make that 6.5 hour drive, just on a regular basis. So it's like I was up there for a week. And unfortunately, the cold front hit later in the week. Now, I did see a bunch of deer. I had a couple of encounters with, a shooter buck, but, he came in on the morning of day 5. But it was a cold front, that cold front buck. So the cold front came through the day before, really windy, nasty day. And then the next day, dead still that morning, dead still, frost on the ground. And he came by working scrapes. So, there's a reason why I hunt, where I hunt, and when I hunt it. So that's what I wanted to kind of help folks understand, was I wanted to bring that why to people, just because this goes a lot, not just for deer hunting, but, sports and coaching and whatnot. Just because you can do it and you can do it really well doesn't mean you can teach it. And that's where there's a lot of folks out there trying, building those education platforms because they can do it, but not necessarily because they actually understand how to teach it. And that's, I wanted to help bridge that gap. And for adults trying to get into it, there's a lot of youth programs out there, which is amazing. We want to bring the youth into it, but what about those, those 30-year-old guys, those 40-year-old guys that they didn't have that mentor hunting, and, that they may not have that ability to, go on a guided hunt and learn from guys in the field, where, now that we have this digital age, we've got so much available to us. This Zoom call right here, you can learn so much from talking to somebody and just, shooting somebody a text message and, hey, what do you think about this tree? Or what do you think about this blood? And as sometimes those immediate answers can make or break a hunt or even recovering an animal. So that's something that I saw available, and that's what I wanted to help provide. Is maybe I can provide a platform where it'll help guys get into the woods, and ladies get into the woods a little bit more and not be so intimidated, because they have this person they can lean on and ask a question. You know what I mean?
That's a beautiful approach to the whole process there. And you, like you said, with the digital aspect of it, once you start building your business, you get up there. Like there's a guy that I know that he worked three months this year, pulled in 250 grand doing the exact same thing you did.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But he's also been doing it for 25 years, and his only initial investment was like $1,500, and he got to where he's at today. And he's got some really good insight in ways he does all that fun stuff. And you know, he's really mentored me in a way to really help me boost my product, because I support him and he supports me, which is good, because having that the camaraderie, but also being able to, like, because people pay attention to that stuff. It's like, well, I'm supporting your stuff, but I'm not seeing the same. He's like, I thought we were friends type scenario. It's like, I thought we were all in this together. And it's like, and I get it. It's like some people just forget, or just not, or they just didn't see you pull up in your feed. Cause that's a lot of things. Is like with Facebook, for certain people, I would be on my Facebook feed, and I would never see their post, never on the thing. It's like, this is frustrating. But the way Facebook has gone, and how I should say Meta has gone through, and they manipulated the algorithms this way, you're less likely to see it unless you go into that page's settings and actually change those. So this way it actually shows up. You're not going to see their products, which is so frustrating, because it's like I'm following you, I like you, like, why am I not seeing you? And then I had to go actually into the settings and like change those. Similar to what's going on with Instagram too. It's very deceiving what's all going on. Then you have also Go Wild app, which is doing really well, is gaining popularity, and is very well put together. LinkedIn is a sleeper. LinkedIn is a sleeper product that not a lot of people really, it's underestimated, because that one right there, you're actually going to get more of a audience that you never thought you would be, because they're going to be attracted to that. Because because it's all very business professionals, and it's like, you may find somebody that's like, hey, this guy's producing content about hunting or how to build habitat. And it's like, I'm curious about this, and it's like, this could be something I could think about down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And Facebook, I don't know what they've done with the algorithm, but man, that's a tricky one. I mean, just like you said, you could completely miss someone that you're following, and you're really not reaching new people on Facebook. It's tough. You basically, when you go to Facebook, you're direct searching a specific company, you know what I mean, or brand. I'm not really coming across new folks like on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok has a great algorithm. I wish.
I'm Jake with HHA Sports, and today we're going to talk a little bit about our Dovetail Sights and how they're going to fit on the new Mathews V3X. So as you'll see, I have a Tetra Max Tournament Edition sight on this 33-inch V3X. All of our Dovetail sights, the Tetra and the Tetra Max, will fit on the V3X. Also, in the next couple of weeks, you'll see us come out with a shorter Dovetail version. It'll just be our short bar version, which will also fit on the V3X on both the 29 and 33-inch model. One question that we've gotten pretty frequently lately is the windage adjustments on your Tetra and Tetra Max bow sights on the new Mathews bow. And this year we came out with the infinite adjust plate, which you'll see on the front end of your sight. So when you put this infinite adjust plate on, you'll want to either flip it to the inside or the outside. And for the inline mounting sight options, such as the V3X, you're going to want to make sure that the infinite adjust plate is to the outside of your infinite adjust channel. This will allow for optimal windage adjustments. So you'll also be able to find the infinite adjust bracket on our website if you're already shooting a Tetra or Tetra Max Tournament Edition sight. Another way that you can get your HHA to fit V3X is by buying our conversion kit, which you can find on our website at hhasports.com. We'll be selling those at retail around $60. So basically the only thing you'll have to do is you'll have to take apart your sight at the third access point, and you can convert any Tetra or Tetra Max sight. So if you have a fixed frame, you can get that into a Dovetail. So like mentioned before, any Dovetail sight will fit a Tetra or a Tetra Max, as well as our short bar version. For more information, you can visit our website at www.hhasports.com.
Instagram would figure out TikTok's algorithm, because however that they've got it figured out, they've got it figured out. But Instagram, at least you're seeing new people. You know what I mean? You're getting to interact with new folks, and especially you start building your page around this interest, like podcasting and deer hunting and self-filming and whatnot. You kind of see a little bit of an increase in, hey, you might know that this dude, and you're like, oh, hey, that's kind of sweet. Let me go look at his stuff. And, and you end up finding somebody you want to continue following. So at least on Instagram, you can still find new people and, reach some new folks. But I haven't actually tapped into LinkedIn. So that's a great idea right there.
Mm-hmm. It's a sleeper one, because I don't know if are you familiar with Gary V or Gary Vaynerchuk from VaynerMedia?
Yep. Yeah. I actually follow his stuff on TikTok.
Oh yeah. I also subscribe to him on TikTok and also on his podcast too, because there's a lot of good hidden gems in it, because he's got so much content out there. And his whole thing is just like, don't worry about if you're putting out a whole bunch of content, because everybody's going to look at your stuff at different points in time, and you just need to get your availability up there and go from there and collaborate and go from. That's just the way to go ahead and do it. And I found like doing lives have really connected me to my audience, and it's almost one of those things where it's like, but I'm always so infrequent because it's always based off of my workout. Like today, yep. I worked out from about 4:15 to 6 o'clock. Then I came home, shot for 10 minutes. But it would be nice to be able to like randomly have one of those people like, oh, it's like you could send an invite. It was like, hey, jump on. We can have that conversation for 10, 15 minutes and go from there, because that's how you really get that grasping that audience and really getting them to know who you are. Now you've started doing you've been doing video and stuff like that. So tell us about that journey.
About the self-filming and whatnot.
Yeah, all your self-filming and such, like, because how long you been doing it type scenario? Like what were some of your mistakes you've learned early on? And like what are some ways that you can really teach somebody over during our conversation here?
Man, when it comes to self-filming, that's really gotten huge over the years, and that's awesome and all. And if you're looking into self-filming, one of the things I can say is, you can bet that it's going to be one of the most frustrating things that you've probably ever had to do. Hunting there's enough to it. There's so much going on anyways. And then you add the aspect of, now I've got a camera. So not only am I a deer hunter, but I'm a cameraman. So I'm doing two people's jobs at once, and that adds weight in your pack, and also you need to make sure that also adds movement in the tree, just a little bit, but it still adds movement, because you need to make sure that deer's in frame, he's focused, and then if you're running multiple camera angles, how are you running your camera angle? Where what I've learned is, so this last year, what I started doing is I ran the 4th Arrow outreach arm, and I stuck a GoPro on the edge of that outreach arm. Basically what I put in it was I put in a 400 gigabyte card, and I plugged in an external battery pack to it, and I let it run all day. I turned it on once, and I let it run all day. And maybe once I need to change it out to another battery pack, but at least I have one camera running nonstop. So if a deer comes in on me and for some reason I'm unable to get my main camera, around on him, on this animal, and get the shot on film with my main camera, I at least got what was happening from my second angle, so I can build the video. You know what I mean? I didn't lose that video at that point. And then I can turn on my main camera, get the interview and then the recovery, and I still have enough supporting footage that I've built up through the hunt to build the video. So, last year I stayed very budget. I filmed with this little Panasonic Lumix, is a little bridge camera, and it did a great job for me. It had the same sensor size, that 1/2-inch sensor size as most camcorders did. And I ran a little Rode micro shotgun mic on it. So Like my actual camera setup maybe cost me $300. So I was, yeah, I mean, you can film with a very budget setup, and it did a great job for me. And, you know, I had a fourth arrow stiff arm that I used, you know, last year. And last year I actually moved to the Talon, their Talon base. That Talon is stellar. So that was actually my whole setup last year, and it did a fantastic job for me, minus the low light situation. So like if you watch my 170, you can faintly see the deer. You can see the deer, but you can see my lighted knock travel past. But on video, it looks like it was too low light of a situation to even take the shot. When in reality, I had plenty of light to see. I could make an ethical shot on that animal. And obviously I did. I had perfect 20-yard double long. He didn't go 60 yards. So I was gathering, my eyes were gathering more light than the camera was. And that's something that I wanted to fix with this coming year, you know, upgrade my setup. And now I'm running a Canon RP, which is a full frame camera. And, you know, I'm now running lavalier mics, and I upgraded to a Rode NTG2 microphone. Okay. And basically what I'm doing is I'm setting up I've got a little $50 audio mixer, and I've got both of those, the lavalier mic and the shotgun mic, into that audio mixer. And then that's going straight into my camera. So I have no post edit, you know, of audio. So say I run an audio recorder, you know, where I would have to actually find that audio and then match it up with the video. That lavalier mic is automatically mixing with my shotgun mic already. So I'm loving what I'm getting from it. And actually one of my most recent videos I did on YouTube, it was of my self-filming setup. And I love that video because it showed most of the video was actually shot with my Canon RP, and it had, you know, fantastic, you know, picture. And, you know, I obviously I ran my lav mic the whole time, so you didn't see a difference in audio, but the picture quality was amazing, even with funny lighting, because I was standing in the shade and it was super bright and sunny behind me. You know, it was so hot I wasn't about to stand the sun and film that setup. So it's very difficult actually lighting setup. And then for a chunk of the video, though, I actually went to my original camera. So you could actually see side by side the difference between a more budget camera and a more expensive camera. Okay. And it was a significant picture change. Significant.
That is a good perspective. I think you did a really good job of breaking all it down. So it kind of puts things into an idea. I had Johnny Jensen on from Tenacious Outdoors or Tenacious Hunter, and he was talking about his initial hunting steps. And he went just to a pawn shop and began building piece by piece and slowly upgrading stuff. And as his income level changes, you know, allowed him to get some other stuff. But that's a really good way of approaching it. It's not that expensive to get there. Just being able to get the prioritizing your money and stuff like getting there. Like I'm lucky here in La Crosse, we have BioLife, and you can donate plasma. And we also have CSL plasma as well. So it's like you donate plasma twice a week, depending on what vendor. It could be $100 a week right there.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you have a lot of options to get yourself a little extra income and get yourself a camera setup. And, you know, it really comes down to, what are you trying to get out of your self-filming? Are you trying to create a good video that you can look back on and enjoy with your family and friends and maybe throw on YouTube? Or are you truly trying to create something nice, something different that's going to require nicer equipment? You know what I mean? So, and that's where I'm at with building my channels. I knew that I needed to make the upgrades, and yes, I was able to build great videos and a lot last year with what I had. You know, do with what you've got. I'm always that I'm a do with what you got kind of guy. You know, you can still make good stuff even if you don't have that $5,000 to drop on equipment. And, you know, basically last year's videos will be the difference between last year to this year's videos will be the difference between a $300 setup and a $2,000 setup. So I made the sacrifices this year to get this set up. You know, by no means was it just handed to me. You know what I mean? So it's like I made the sacrifices I needed to do in order to create this setup. And I'm so excited to actually get out and truly build more videos than what I've, you know, obviously this interview style of video throughout the off season. But I'm super pumped this fall to actually get this new setup out and see what I can do with it.
That's pretty awesome. So as you're learning all this stuff, what do you use for a learning source to help you become more efficient using your equipment? So
throughout the years up until this year, basically what I did was all YouTube, all Google. You know, I knew kind of what I needed to know in a roundabout way. And then I just went trying to look for it. I listened to guys that were into filming, not only hunting filming, but just filming in general, you know, cinematography and whatnot, and learning what they did and some of the tips and tricks. And this year, actually, I was pretty stoked. I took the online course from Film the Hunt. So that course was worth every single penny that I spent on it. And they had such incredible information on that course, and it's helped open my eyes a lot to what I was doing, not only kind of confirm what I was doing, that I'm like, okay, you're actually on the right track here. You're doing all right, but give me new ideas and say, okay, this needs to be better right here. And if you get this better, this will set you apart. And honestly, the best thing that I learned when it comes to building videos and as a filmer was I learned how to edit. And the moment I truly learned how to edit and build a video, my filming became more enjoyable. It you know, for the first few years, it was very kind of frustrating and it wasn't a whole lot of fun. You know, it was cumbersome carrying everything into the woods. It was time consuming, setting the camera stuff up. So you had more to set up, and it just wasn't a whole lot of fun until I learned actually truly how to build these videos. And once I learned that, my filming became a lot more fun, and it actually became more streamlined, because now I'm going into this video. In my mind, I've already edited the video. I was like, this is how I want the video to look. And then in the field, I just capture what I need to capture, and then I go from there. So, you know, if say it was a hunt, so I'm going to use my Iowa hunt for an example, because it was a canoe camp. So I knew that this canoe camp, this adventure hunt would make a really cool video. You know, who knows if I end up coming out with a deer? Yeah, I hope I would. But, you know, I at least want to capture as many deer as possible, you know, put together the story of this, you know, what it took to get downstream, and, you know, what the camp looked like, the story of me scouting that first day, finding the fresh sign, and then getting set up on them. You know, I had that encounter with that giant, you know, 13 point on day 2. And, you know, slow for a couple of days, but you've got deer crossing the river, you know, behind you. So I knew kind of how I wanted to set up the video. I just needed to now let the woods play out, the hunt play out, and let the deer tell me kind of how it would end. And it ended up with day 5, I shot this nice 8 point, and then it was fun, because then I had a 2.5 mile trip upstream to get him out. So that added a whole nother aspect also to the video. And that's where, you know, it just, in my mind, I already kind of had an idea about how I wanted to build the video, and you went from there. And those videos are more difficult to build than so an interview video. So I have a topic I'm wanting to approach. I already have an idea kind of how I want to look like on the editing side of things and the actual end result. And then I actually just get in, and it helps me organize my thoughts in a manner. It helps me talk, real smooth and create a nice educational, enjoyable video for you guys to watch, for my viewers to watch.
That's awesome. And that's a really good way to do it. So what do you got planned for this upcoming season then?
So I'm pretty stoked because I just drew Kansas.
So congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked. This is my first year hunting Kansas. So I've got a spot out there that I've got some folks that have given me some intel on, and I'm going to go out there and do some hunting. Obviously Missouri, last year I had an encounter with that. Yeah, I bet he was 190 inch non-typical. And, I saw him an hour before I shot my 170. So obviously I'm, fingers crossed that he's still around, and, I'm going to try my darndest to get on him and make a hunt on him this year. So Missouri, I've already feel really confident about my approach to. Kansas is my big tag I got. And then I'm just trying to figure it out from there. Kentucky's always an option. I hunted Kentucky for the first time last year, and we had a blast. We've never hunted that early in the year, and that was a whole nother beast to go after with the early September hunt. But I'm also kicking around Oklahoma, because Oklahoma for me, it's a 4-hour drive, and it's a cheap over the counter tag, and I can get 2 archery bucks out of it. So
nice. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. So that's what I thought, that'd be, an idea with gas prices kind of going the way they're going. I'm kind of going to play it by ear, but for sure I'm going to be Missouri and Kansas this year.
Definitely. That's pretty sweet. Yeah. You can also do over-the-counter mule deer tag on Nebraska, but from what I've heard, Nebraska is kind of a hard state to find a mule deer and to get on one with a bow and a camera.
Yeah, I've heard it's kind of tough on mule deer out there in Nebraska. That'd be a lot of fun hunt. It'd be a great hunt. Yeah. What I've actually kicked around, Nebraska does have that September 1st opener. So, if I'm unable to make it to Kentucky this year, maybe I can actually make it to Nebraska, a 2-hour drive for me, in a cheaper tag, maybe try to still chase a velvet buck. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
So, that's an option.
Yes. I think it was North Dakota has a velvet tag too as well.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Wisconsin don't. I don't think Illinois does either, but
yeah,
there's a lot of counties here in Wisconsin. You can hunt all the way up until January 31st. So you can always start from September. Not sure where this September lands here. Let me look at my calendar here. I think this year for September, come on. So it'll be September 17th and 8th. September 17th should be opening weekend. It's either be September 10th or September 17th will be opening weekend. Then it runs for like where I hunt at. It'll go up until January 31st. So it's like you can hunt in those cold weather, that time frame to get out there. So I've really upgraded my equipment to a lot of electronic heater vest, and I've also upgraded to electronic heated socks because I like to hunt in cold weather, and it's like I've kind of got the means to start buying some better equipment. So I went that route.
There you go, man. Yeah, when it comes to that cold weather, it can be absolutely miserable. That's definitely the best route to go, is to get set up with some stuff to at least make the hunt a little bit more comfortable and able to stick it out.
Oh yeah, especially like because of the way I have my bibs, they go up and over it, obviously. But it's like if you don't have that your waistline covered, that cold air gets right up in there. Oh man, it could ruin a hunt. And if you can't keep your feet warm, then it's like you're gonna be hating life all day long. And luckily for some places like your areas over there, you can have up to 7,000 acres of land to hunt, so you can walk and keep yourself warm. Here, it's like we only have so much room in between property line and property line.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, at least here, I've done that a lot too. Is I'll hunt the morning and I'll get up midday. If I'm not 100% sure about my setup, get out, do some scouting, and try to find the deer, and either come right back to my setup for the evening or move setup. So at least I can actually get out and warm the feet up a little bit, get some blood flow going, and so on. And actually something I have been kicking around, for a future hunt is actually chasing the rut down to Alabama at some point.
Oh yeah, so down there in January, yeah.
Down there and go down there in January and see, that they still got some rut activity happening down there around that time. So we're here in Missouri, we're either done or it's not really good hunting on public here, but at that time of year. So that'd be, an interesting option to go down and try my luck at.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who lives down there in Alabama. He runs Native Scents down there. He does a authentic doe and buck urine scents driving. He started that company a couple of years ago, Native Scents, and he's been slowly growing and such. But because they were playing around with like taking away the opportunity to use that particular attractant, and when they start doing that, if the public doesn't get together and start calling them and hounding them to stop doing that, that's when they start chipping away our rights, because there's some states that you can bait and there's some states you can't. But it's like, for those who still have it, don't let them take it away, because it's one thing they start chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. It's like, it becomes very, very frustrating, because eventually we're going to take all our rights away. And that's the whole goal. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you want. That's the whole goal to do, is to take away our public lands, our guns, and our hunting rights, because they want everybody to be self-reliant on that. It's part of the Agenda 2090 perspective, because they want to try to weed that from completely self-sustaining to being completely dependent on the government.
Yeah, I mean, if you let them take a little bit, where are they going to stop?
Oh yeah, California. You look at California, and that you'll see how far they'll go, and they'll just destroy everything. Now they have to bring in professional hunters to kill the mountain lions, the bears, and it's like you can't use dogs to go after either species. And good luck trying to track them down, because they're very, very stealthy.
They're predators.
Yeah, exactly. I have a friend of mine that I had on last week's podcast that he is in Idaho, and he hunts. I can't remember what unit he hunts in, but their bear season runs until July, because it's so high up there. They still have snow up there, and so not all the bears are awake yet. So it's like he did 9 miles yesterday and didn't see anything.
Wow, that's crazy. That would be a crazy hunt. That'd be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, he hunts rifle up there for bear and stuff, but he also on top of that has a sidearm as well, because you never know when things can go sideways.
100%. Also, your buddy down in Alabama, is he planning on going to the World Deer Expo in August?
Is that I don't know if he will or not, because he's kind of got the what's we're looking for. The people that buy from him, he's got his dealerships. He's pretty much got all this stuff taken care of. So it's like going to the shows are not really up his alley anymore, because he's got enough following to do it. He did it at the beginning of his company to try to drive traffic and such, but he's got enough traffic. It's not necessary.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And the ROI really isn't there.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, no, we're actually, we've got a booth. So we're going to be going down there in August and, meeting a whole bunch of people and trying to network and get our name out there.
That's pretty exciting, man. So that's in August, right? Is that middle or late August?
August 12th through 14th.
Okay, because here we have Deer Fest. That's in west or eastern Wisconsin and stuff like that. That's one of our last big events, because we have our open seasons. Deer and Turkey Classic, that's in March, and then we go entire year the rest of the year without anything deer related. There are some few things that go after pike and muskie and some bass fishing and stuff throughout the season, but then our next big deer thing is Deer Fest.
Yeah, I was having trouble finding any kind of late summer deer expos, so I found that this one, like, there's a great booth of it available on that. On the first hall on that main level. So I'm like, let's do it.
That's awesome. Well, at least now the listeners have something to look forward to in August for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Austin, man, this has been an awesome podcast. You laid out a lot of good information. You really took the the scarcity or the being scared about jumping into doing the filmed hunts. So that's a really good way to break down and like discussing what you went through and what you learned to get to where you are for this upcoming season. So it sounds like you're gonna have some really good footage.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I'm really looking forward to it. I wanted to make sure I got my camera early enough in the year that I had plenty of time to practice, work out the kinks, get to know the camera, because the last thing I want to do is have a big shooter buck in front of me and me not be 100% confident and fluid with my camera. And as building a channel, having that shot is not end all be all, but it's pretty crucial to making it happen. And it just adds to the value of the film. So, I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of time to practice, plenty of time to learn the camera. And if there was something that I needed to tweak or to fix in my setup anywhere, I had plenty of time to figure it out and be ready for this year.
Amazing. So what's the best way to get a hold of you, Austin?
If you look up Tactical Approach Outdoors on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. I have a Facebook book as well, but mostly if you look me up on Instagram and YouTube, you will find me there, and I'm very active. And if you want to shoot me an email, tacticalapproachoutdoors@gmail.com. Any kind of questions you have about public land hunting or self-filming, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Austin, for coming on the podcast. You were just a wealth of knowledge, and I'm looking forward to watching your company just grow and grow.
I appreciate you having me on, Jeff. I had a good time.
Thank you, sir.